going to try to explain this possible counting of the 2,300 evenings and mornings that may have already begun in 2018. And the reason why I want to share this again is because there's been so many mainstream ideas, and they may be wrong about the end times. And this is a really big one. Um, and I just wanted to share it again because it's helps me as I explain it to understand it as well. So the original Hebrew interpretation in Daniel 8:11 through 14 is really important. And two main words, I think, is the Hadamid, which is the continual, which does not necessarily mean sacrifice. So we've always gotten this picture of Daniel 8:11 through 14. Well, I've gotten this picture from mainstream end times teachings that this like Antichrist is going to be trampling down the temple that's already built. Like the third temple's built, the Antichrist takes over, and he and his armies are trampling down this temple and causing the sacrifices to cease. Um, but with the interpretation, the word hadamid, continual, could be anything. It could be a continual lamp burning. It could be a continual sacred area, like the temple that is the remains of the temple, which they believe is on the Temple Mount, the last temple built, the Temple of Solomon. Um, so now this book, Calculating the Last Seven, the reason I'm doing all these teachings is because the original Hebrew, to me, it's like when I learned the roots of Israel. It's like when I understood that Christmas and Easter were pagan holidays, and that there wasn't an Easter bunny. When I understood that the Mayam Hayam, the living waters, is a Hebrew word, and that the well of salvation is really the well of Yeshua. And when I found out that the apostles were up all night with dancing with the word before the day of Shavuot, or the day of Pentecost, the Simchat Torah, they were dancing with the word, and that's when those tongues of fire came on them. So there's so much richness in the Hebrew and in the roots of Israel that when I began to learn Hebrew and began to understand the roots of our faith, my faith got so much deeper. And I also wept. I wept at the lies that I had been brought up with. What was Lent? What were these like things in the Christian tradition that were not part of the roots of Israel, of our faith? So anyway, the reason I love this book is because the truths in this book that I believe are truth, they're like water to my soul. They're like, I've been lied to and someone's telling me the truth. So if we've been believing a lie as a mainstream body of Christ, if we have not understood that there were translations that got lost, and then we had this end view of the Antichrist, I would want to know the truth. So that's why I do these teachings. The person who wrote this book would never, ever come online. He would never show his face. He's so humble and so just does this research, and I feel compelled to share his findings because they really meant a lot to me. So I hope they mean a lot to you. And to just go back into this a little briefly. So there's so this picture may have already happened. So if you already have listened to my teachings that we may not need a third temple, it could be a tent or a dwelling place, sacred place. The other word that's important in Daniel 8:11 through 13 is the word Meccan. So in that verse, which I think I've already put up some translations. Let me see here. Well, let me just translate it here a little bit from the original Hebrew, which is in this book, Calculating the Last Seven. Well, let's read them in English first. He magnified himself, even the Prince of Hosts, and by him the daily sacrifice, there's that word again, it's not really sacrifice, it's hatamid, the continual, was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgressions, and it cast truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. So then I heard a saint speaking, and another saint said to the certain saint, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, hatamid, and the transgression of the desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? And he said to me, under 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Daniel 8:11-14 begins about speaking about this hatamid, which literally means the continual, not sacrifices. The little horn is attempting to magnify itself above as far as the prince or captain, as the leader of the host and the armies of heaven. So we know that little horn already exists if he's going to be rising up here really soon. He's already in existence. He's already continually moving things forward to get to that place where he's going to have that 3.5-year reign. But in doing so, and prophecy in the Daniel 8 is literally means that a continual something could be lifted up or moved, or and the mechan, the foundation, which is a fixed base of the set apart place, is thrown out or thrown down or thrown away. So in Hebrew, the word mechan is often translated as house, but it literally refers to anything solid, unmoving structure of any kind, and it includes in its meaning any foundation that remains in a fixed location. And the foundation of the sanctuary, the set apart place, is thrown down or thrown out or thrown away. So the Hebrew word mechem is often translated as house, but it literally refers to any solid or moving structure of any kind. It includes any unmoving foundation that remains in a location. So the Temple Mount, where they have the mosque, they also have the set apart, the remains of the set apart place of the Temple of Solomon. And that's been in control by the Muslims since for a really long time. But the King of Jordan is in control of that. And what may have happened, which there's a video on it, and I have a few pictures here, when you really think about this, that something continually sacred to the Lord might be taken up and thrown down or thrown away. And you know that's just from a foundation. When the WAQF illegally dug up the rest of the remains, the rest of the Temple of Solomon, dug up and threw away these remains illegally on June 14th, 2018. The Wake in 1999, the Wake started illegally renovating the Temple Mount, digging up the dirt, and of course this was stopped, and the Israel High Court of Justice banned the removal of the rest of this sacred, set apart dirt and earth and artifacts to protect any artifacts. But on that night, the night of June 13th and 14th, when the Jews were not allowed on the Temple Mount because it was the end of their feast of Ramadan, the Wake was lifting up the remaining dirt containing the remains and artifacts of the set apart place, which had stood on the Temple Mount for thousands of years. So they lifted up the remains of these artifacts. They took them away in dump trucks, and they succeeded. the WAQF succeeded in getting all the rest of the continual remains of the set apart place of the dirt removed from the Temple Mount. So the prophecy of Daniel 8:11 through 14 continues on about an army or host or a mass group of people who oppose the truth and they act in rebellion against it, and they are successful in moving forward with their plan. So basically, the WAQF hired an army of over 1,000 Muslim workers, which took away the artifacts at the Temple Mount and the foundation of the set apart place. They acted in rebellion and defiance against the evidence of the set apart place that had been there continually for thousands of years. And they were able to move forward with their plans, and they prospered in them, which the Hebrew literally says that they will prosper in doing so. They will remove this continual from a foundational place, and they'll prosper in their plans. They will dump and throw the truth to the ground elsewhere, which they did in dump trucks, in an attempt to cover or erase or hide the truth. Then the area where the dirt was removed was paved over with stones in order to cover up the fact that the truth had been removed from the set apart place. So after the continual is taken up, Daniel is told in Daniel 8:11 through 14 that this event of this continual being taken up by a transgression of an army that desolates it, that this counting of 2,300 mornings, evenings, and mornings begins. So if you take the counting of 2,300 evenings and mornings from that date, you get to the very end of 2024, which is also the end of the last 7 years, which calculating the last 7 believes that that has been calculated from Daniel's prophecy of the last week of Daniel. So I have tons of great videos on that, but wouldn't this be like the Lord? He never does anything obvious. He moves quietly, he moves secretively, he hides himself from the Pharisees over and over in the Bible. Could it be that, just a shepherd saw him knowing he was born, or just a few wise men? And could it be that there's just a few people now, or a few just gems of insight that gives us this possibility that this counting has already begun?
So basically, these thousands of men trampled the sanctuary underfoot and were able to successfully get every last artifact away from the sanctuary. And they threw truth to the ground. Daniel 12, they threw truth to the ground. They said, no more, we're going to take it all. We're throwing it away. And they acted on it, and they were successful in doing it. This actually happened. And it was somebody made a recording while they were doing it. So this got into the hands of the Israeli News and a couple other places. And I'll show you the link. When you watch it, you feel it. You just feel it. You feel that the holy place has been trampled underfoot. You feel the grief, and it really seems to make sense to me. So if you count from that date, the 2,300 evenings and mornings, that gets us to September 30th, 2024.
So anyway, no man knows the exact timing of the Lord, but he gives us a lot of days. He gives us the 12,090 days. That's the half of the 3.5 years and the reigning of the Antichrist. And I think the Lord gives us a lot of really clear views. And there's a reason why he gave us this 2,300 evenings and mornings from that trampling of the temple. So if you look at it in that way, just open your mind, pray about it. I just really wanted to do this video again because this, I think, is one of the 5 major misconceptions in the end time mainstream view of the church. Okay, and this is my second video in those, and I will be doing two more. One, I've done a lot of them, but I'll be doing another one on the rapture, and then also the misconception of the Antichrist sitting himself rather than his disgusting idol. All right. God bless you, and thanks for tuning in.
We can clearly see that the Lord is on his way. Yay! Okay.
The temple of my Messiah, the New Jerusalem.